$2,000 at least a year, increases on goods. I'll give you an example of one. Bananas. What's the tariff on bananas? Americans, by the way, love bananas. We buy billions of them a year. I love bananas. What's the tariff on bananas?
The tariff on bananas would be representative of the countries that produce them.
And what's that tariff?
Generally 10%.
Correct, 10%. Walmart has already increased the cost of bananas by 8%.
But as countries do deals with us, that will go to zero. As countries do deals with us, that will go to zero.
But the cost is on the American consumer now and on the businesses with the confusion now. Mr. Secretary, I believe you know better. I believe you recognize that a trade deficit is not something to fear. I believe you know that predictability, stability is essential for businesses.
When Representative Madeleine Dean looks at Secretary Howard Lutnick and says, "We cannot build bananas in America," she isn't joking. She's diagnosing a policy failure. Because what plays like comedy in the hearing room is actually a warning. Tariffs without strategy don't strengthen an economy, they destabilize it. And today, she exposes exactly how.
Ms. Dean.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers. Thank you, Ranking Member Meng. Thank you, Ranking Member DeLauro. And thank you to you, Secretary Lutnick. Thanks for being here today. I want to pick up on what Mr. Morelli was talking about, and I'll use the word stability. And I think you know this from your many years in business. And that's what I thought about as I was preparing for today. The importance of stability, or as he said, predictability. Stability is the foundation of economic growth. I think you've lived it. Businesses need clear and predictable rules to plan and to invest for the future. Given this administration's claim of being pro-business and pro-growth, I am so baffled by the discussions around trade deficits and the president's belief around trade deficits and the president's beliefs around tariffs and the chaotic tariff policy. They're on, they're off. Many of the tariffs are punishing, creating a level of instability and uncertainty in our economy that we haven't seen since COVID. I hear the same thing over and over from constituents, from small businesses, from bankers in my area. They can't figure out how to plan, how to lend. Businesses can't figure out how to expand, how to grow, whether to hire, whether to not hire. And I'd heard just literally this morning from a very large American retailer. First word out of the woman's mouth was uncertainty, and the last thing she said to me was uncertainty, all surrounding tariffs. The lack of predictability. I also serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee, was recently in UK and Denmark, met with the American Chamber in both countries. Confused, uncertain, they can't figure it out. What in God's name is going on? We cannot plan to grow businesses. We cannot plan to grow growth and jobs. So I am baffled, absolutely baffled, by this administration's talk around trade deficits and tariffs. I fear the administration lacks a basic understanding of what a trade deficit is. I think many economists take issue with equating a country's trade deficit with any one country and its economic well-being. Some economists actually view a trade deficit as a sign of a country's economic health because it means we're purchasing more. For me, I have a pretty large trade deficit with my local grocer or my hairdresser. It's a good thing. It means I have money enough to get my hair done once in a while and to keep food on the table. It tells nothing about my overall financial position. Do you know when this country actually had a trade surplus, Secretary?
We've had trade surpluses. The president likes to speak about before.
No, historically. When did we have a trade surplus? I'm not talking about the president. Historically.
I think early, about 100 years ago.
It was the Great Depression. It was a sign of what was going on. It was during the Great Depression. That's a direction none of us wants to go. Tariffs. It's 90 days. We're going to have 90 deals in 90 days. Then there's a 90-day pause. Many of these tariffs, as they say, punishing. Tariffs on things that make no sense whatsoever. Where are we going to go with the remaining deals? I know of one deal that has been apparently resolved with the United Kingdom. We got 89 more deals to do in just a few more days. Where are we on those deals?
We are in the midst of negotiations with dozens and dozens of countries. We could sign deals, but they're only going to get better as we negotiate them.
That's just simply not true. Because as I told you, the American...
Actually, I promise you it's true because I am doing it. So I promise you it is true, and I'm here testifying in front of you, and I promise you it's true.
And Mr. Trump promised to bring down the cost of goods day one. And what he has done through his trade deficit fixation and his tariff chaos has nakedly increased the cost of goods. The estimates are that for consumers in my area, suburban Philadelphia, $2,000 at least a year increases on goods. I'll give you an example of one. Bananas. What's the tariff on bananas? Americans, by the way, love bananas. We buy billions of them a year. I love bananas. What's the tariff on bananas?
The tariff on bananas would be representative of the countries that produce them.
And what's that tariff?
Generally 10%.
Correct, 10%. Walmart has already increased the cost of bananas by 8%.
But as countries do deals with us, that will go to zero. As countries do deals with us, that will go to zero. But the cost is on the American
consumer now and on the businesses with the confusion now. Mr. Secretary, I believe you know better. I believe you recognize that a trade deficit is not something to fear. I believe you know that predictability, stability is essential for businesses. I wish you would show that truth to this administration. And I yield back.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Would you mind, Mr. Chairman, if I make one quick comment to the end? Would that be okay?
I'm sorry?
Would you mind if I make one quick comment to the representative?
Sure. Please.
There's no uncertainty if you build in America and you produce your product in America, there will be no tariff.
We can't produce bananas in America.
So the concept of building in America and paying no tariff is very, very clear.
We cannot build bananas in America.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
What makes this exchange remarkable isn't the back and forth, or even the clash of personalities. It's the clarity with which Dean lays out something most people rarely hear explained in plain English: how economic stability works, why predictability matters more than political bravado, and how tariffs ripple through a system far beyond the talking points on cable news. Dean begins by grounding the moment in something business owners across the country understand instinctively: stability is oxygen. Economies grow not because leaders make bold promises, but because businesses can anticipate the rules tomorrow, next quarter, and next year. Without predictability, planning collapses, hiring stops, lending freezes, growth stalls. You can feel Dean's frustration because she's relaying what she hears directly from the people who carry the weight of those decisions: small businesses, bankers, multinational retailers, even American chambers abroad, all saying the same thing: nobody knows what's going on. She is painting an economic map for the audience, one where uncertainty isn't an abstract idea, but a drag on everyday life. When tariffs are imposed, lifted, reimposed, paused, teased, delayed, or doubled with no clear strategy, the economy doesn't just wobble, it loses confidence. And confidence is the invisible currency markets rely on. That's the heart of her critique. This isn't ideology, it's instability. Then Dean dismantles one of the most common misconceptions in American politics: the belief that trade deficits are some kind of national report card. She explains it with elegance. A trade deficit doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're buying. It means you have purchasing power, disposable income, liquidity. She uses the example of her own grocery store and hairdresser to bring the point home. She runs a deficit with them, but that deficit says nothing about her financial health. It says she can afford things. Economists have been making this point for decades, but hearings rarely distill it so cleanly. Her question about America's last trade surplus is more than trivia. When Lutnick hesitates, she supplies the answer: the Great Depression. The only period when America consistently ran surpluses was when our economy was collapsing, when imports shrank because Americans were too broke to buy. She's teaching the audience that a surplus isn't automatically a sign of strength. Sometimes it's the opposite. This is where the commentary deepens into something more structural. Tariffs are not inherently good or bad. They're tools, but tools require strategy, sequencing, and clear objectives. When Dean lists the 90 deals in 90 days, the pause pauses, the reversals, the improvisation, she's diagnosing something bigger, a government that treats economic architecture like a last-minute negotiation instead of a long-term system that anchors industries for decades. Lutnick's insistence that deals are happening, that he promises progress, doesn't counter her argument. It highlights the gap between political reassurance and economic reality. Because businesses don't invest on promises, they invest on clarity. They don't hire because an official says, "Trust me." They hire because the rules are stable enough to calculate risk. And then she brings in the example that made this clip explode online: bananas. It sounds absurd, but it's actually a perfect case study. America can't grow bananas at scale. The climate makes it impossible. Tariffs on bananas don't create American banana farms. They create higher grocery bills. Dean underscores that Americans buy billions of bananas a year, a staple food with almost no domestic substitute. When she says Walmart has already raised prices 8%, she's connecting abstract policy to the concrete reality of families who notice a price jump every single week. Lutnick's response, "If you build in America, there will be no tariff," lands with a thud because it ignores the very example she used. We can't build bananas in America, she reminds him. And that one line becomes the metaphor for the entire hearing. Economic rules don't bend to political slogans. You can't tariff your way into a climate zone. You can't negotiate your way into agricultural physics. You can't declare stability while practicing unpredictability. What Dean does here is not just critique, she educates. She walks viewers through trade deficits, tariff mechanics, global supply chains, business psychology, and consumer pricing with a clarity rarely seen in congressional hearings. Her frustration is real, but it's rooted in something substantive: the disconnect between the administration's rhetoric and the lived experience of the people who have to operate inside the chaos. And when she says, "I believe you know better," she isn't humiliating Lutnick. She's challenging him to step out of the political script and acknowledge the economic truth he surely understands. Growth depends on trust. Trust depends on stability, and stability cannot survive policy that changes faster than businesses can adapt. This exchange becomes a lesson disguised as confrontation, a moment where economics, politics, and everyday life suddenly converge into one simple sentence: you cannot build bananas in America, and pretending you can is how economies break. If you want more breakdowns that cut through the noise and show the economic mechanics behind political theater, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Drop a comment telling me what part hit you hardest: the instability, the consumer cost, or the banana moment. I'll feature the best takes in the next video.